Hi, my name is Bruce An, and I'm the head of developer relations at Partisia Blockchain Foundation. As many of you guys are aware, today we launched version 2 of our staking tool, and I wanted to take this opportunity to review with you the changes, the layout changes, as well as some of the instructions that are modified in our documents. So let's jump in. So I think the first thing that you will notice, if you're familiar with the older version especially, is that the front page, the layout is completely different. If you're used to the staking tool in npcexplorer.com, you'll notice that the look and feel of the layout is different, which hopefully will give you an easier way to navigate, and it's a little bit more intuitive for you guys. While NPC Explorer still does the Explorer function of our chain, we've migrated the staking functionality over into this new URL called browser.partisiablockchain.com, and all of your staking functionalities can be accessed in this website. So let's jump in. So from the front page, what you will basically do is to sign in on the top right hand corner. And now the video may make it a little bit hard for you to see, but if you take a look at the instructions document, you will see where to sign in. So if you click on the sign in button, you will notice that you have two options to sign into the site. You can sign in using the NPC wallet, which I suspect that many, or if not most of you, will use to sign into the site. But there's also an option to sign in using your private key. And this functionality is there as a tool that you can use in the event that you lose access to your wallet, and so on and so forth. It is not something that we recommend, but it is there just in case you may need to access the staking tools if you've lost access to your wallet. For this video, we will go through the exercise using the wallet sign-in function. So let's sign in. When you click on the login, you'll get notified with your familiar logon dialog, where you will just enter in your password, sign in using the account that you want to use, and the front page will show up. Now, this is the front page of the staking tool site, and you'll notice, as I mentioned earlier, the layout is very different. This is the main page of your account. And here you will see your total NPC token that you have in your account. And then you have two separate sections here that talks about staking and also unlocking. All of the coins that you've purchased, either through the pre-sale or the public sale that we had last year, has some level of a vesting schedule, whether they're 2 years or 4 years, where a percentage of your coins get unlocked every quarter. Everyone should have their coins in a locked state. This page shows you the status of the amount of tokens that you have currently staked, and this section talks about how many of your coins are currently locked and which ones that were released. Here is the amount of tokens that you have that is unused, the amount of tokens that you have staked, and the amount of tokens that you have pending. And pending would mean they're going through a unlock period. On the unlocking section, you will see how many tokens you have released, how many tokens that have or are releasable as a part of your unlock schedule passing, and how many of your tokens are still locked. Below that are really more geared towards node operators. And in this section, you will see if you actually have a node running and the types of jobs that you have registered, whether you are a Baker node, a Oracle node, or a ZK node, and how many of those tokens you have allocated for that particular function. On the right side, it talks about how many tokens you still have available that you can still register to either an Oracle service or a ZK service. Now, the more coins you have for a particular service, the more jobs you can do. So in essence, you can earn additional bring your own coin rewards if you add additional available tokens to these particular jobs. We won't review that too much in detail because this is a community staking video, but just as a side item, though, that's what the UI actually is depicting right here. The other section that you'll notice is what's called a node operator tab. And if you click on that, it will give you the current block producers that are producing blocks in Partisia blockchain, as well as their score. These are all the different addresses of the nodes that are producing blocks. And on the right, the scores are basically calculated from a 0 to 1 scale, where 1 equals the block producer that has produced the most block in a given period. And we calculate this period on a monthly basis. Now here you can see some overview of the node operators and their scores for November. I believe this is actually December of 2022, so we'll go ahead and fix that. But it basically calculates your score against the score of the best producing node for that particular month. So if the best score for a node is 1, and that particular node produced 1,000 blocks. Of course, they would produce more than 1,000 in a month, but for this example, let's say that they produced 1,000. Now, if your node produced 990 blocks, then your score will be 99 or 0.99. So for a community staker, what you would do is go into this tab and take a look at the scores for a particular node that you want to stake to and see if they were producing blocks at a relatively decent manner. Because ultimately, in the end, your rewards will be calculated against the amount of blocks that a producer created. Now, some scores may show 0.42, and it might seem like a low score when you first take a look at it, but it may be because of various different reasons, not specifically related to the uptime of the nodes. It could be that the server perhaps joined the committee in the middle of the month, which in that case, their score will be low, even though perhaps their server is very active and is stable. Or perhaps they did run into some issues during that month, and next month, they'll actually be very stable. So it's always important to go back and take a look at the scores and review how the node that you've staked to is performing. Now, as a community staker, what you would want to do is to review the nodes that you want to stake to, make sure that you've chosen one, take a note of it, and basically copy the node address. Once you've chosen a node, what you would go is to go back into Delegated to Others tab. Now, the Delegated to Others tab is the tab that you would use as a community staker to stake to a particular node that you wish to earn reward with. In this tab, it gives you two basic sections. Number one is the Delegated to Others section, where it tells you how many tokens you've actually delegated and how many tokens that you have that has been accepted and how many tokens are still waiting for acceptance. Now, remember, when you stake to a node, the node operator has the option to either accept that or reject it. So when you first initially stake to a node, it will stay in the pending acceptance state until the node operator actually accepts the stake. There's a specific reason why this is the case, and we'll review it a little bit more in detail later. But just for this particular section, please be aware that when you accept, or actually when you stake to a node, you want to make sure that you stake to a node that has an operator that is active, right? So the best way to find out whether or not a node operator is active is to go to our Discord channel or our Telegram channel and ask around, see who is actually active and accepting stakes. Once you've identified that person, you can then go back, check the node operators tab to see if that node has actually performed very well to your satisfaction, and then you can stake to that particular node. The other section really talks about how many tokens you still have available to delegate. And in this particular account, it shows that we have 13,546 tokens still available to delegate to any node. So in this window below, it talks about the different addresses of the nodes that you have actually staked to, the amount that has been accepted, the amount that is currently still pending acceptance, and the total amount of tokens that you have allocated to that particular node. On the right side, you will see a button to retract in case you want to pull back any of the tokens that are currently either accepted or in the pending acceptance state. So this is how you unstake from a node. So the next section here, called Delegated from Others, is really for node operators. And when we click on this tab, it'll give you an overview of, from a node operator's perspective, how many tokens that have delegated to your node, how many of them you've accepted, and how many are still pending acceptance. So here are the different addresses that have delegated to this particular account. And it goes over the different addresses or the wallet addresses that have staked to this particular account, the amount that this particular node operator has accepted, and how many still are in pending acceptance. Now in this section, there's also the button to accept or to reduce. Now the reduce button may seem a little bit counterintuitive, but there is a specific reason why a node operator may want to reduce the amount of tokens that is staked to their node. And I'll review a little bit more about that when we go over the instructions document. But for this part, this is the basic option to accept the actual tokens that are pending in your account and or to reduce. The last tab, node operation, really reviews the various different things that a node operator can do for their particular node itself. So if you take a look at this section, it reviews the amount of tokens that you have staked to your node. You can unstake additional tokens from your node. And then on the right side, it tells you how many tokens that you have available to stake. If you have additional reward tokens that you received as a result of staking to your site, as an example, you may get some additional tokens where you may want to now additionally stake those tokens to your node. This section talks about how many coins or how many tokens that you have staked to yourself. And this is how many tokens that have staked to your node that you have accepted. And this section talks about how many tokens that you have, that you own, that you have yet to stake, how many are in pending unstake if you unstake those tokens, and how many are pending from others. Below that, it talks about jobs. And as you know, as a node operator, you can run 3 separate jobs. You can run the initial Baker node, which works on consensus of the blockchain. You could run as a Oracle node, which runs the bridging functionality of the blockchain, or you can run as a ZK node, where it does the multi-party computation functions for any of the jobs that require the zero knowledge computation services. And this section really talks about how many tokens you have still available that you have yet to register to either a Oracle or a ZK node. So this is an overview of what the staking site looks like and how you would stake or unstake depending on whether you're a community staker or whether you are a node operator or a aspiring node operator. Now what I'd like to do is to review the instructions document. And in the instructions document, you will see a couple of new sections. One section is called the rewards calculation, where it will review at a very high level how the rewards are calculated. And then a little bit below, it talks about important information, things to know, things to understand, and things to keep in mind, whether you're a community staker or a node operator. These are nuances that are a bit different than other blockchains. But as you know, the Partisia blockchain is a much more complex blockchain than others. And so it will be very important for you to take note of some of these important nuances as you consider staking into the particular node. So Let's review the calculation methods. Now, the calculation formula initially will seem very complex. And the first time you read it, you'll ask yourself, what does this really mean? But after you read it a couple of times, I think you'll realize it's not very difficult of a computation itself. And by understanding how the computation works, you'll actually be able to double check our work to make sure that the computations are actually accurate. So let's review the formula. So the MPC rewards are calculated by the total number of rewardable tokens delegated to a staking by the user to one or more nodes. And that is adjusted by the node performance of that respective node, right? So this is the first section. The total number of rewardable tokens that you've delegated to one or more nodes. You may want to delegate to multiple different nodes. You may just want to delegate to a single node. It all depends on you. So it is the total number of rewardable tokens delegated to one or more nodes, adjusted by the node performance of the respective node. And that is one item, right? So let's say that we get that number. Then we divide that by the total number of rewardable tokens delegated to staking across the entire blockchain, to all the nodes. And this is fairly self-explanatory. The total number of rewardable tokens, that's basically been staked to all the nodes, right? So now we have that number. And then we multiply that by the amount of reward tokens distributed for a particular reward period. And a reward period is in 3-month intervals. Okay, so now we have that formula in mind. Now it's important for us to understand what some of these terminologies really mean. So what does it mean to be a rewardable token? Well, a rewardable token basically means the number of tokens delegated to staking to a particular given node multiplied by the percentage of unlocked tokens that you have on your account. So let's take an example of what that really means. Right now, we have period 1 that has passed, which means depending on what your vesting period is, you may have unlocked 6% or maybe 12% of your tokens. So what is the rewardable token mean? Well, that means if you had 1,000 tokens, and let's say 12% of that has unlocked so far, well, you have 120 tokens available to you that is considered to be rewardable because 120 tokens has passed phase 1 and is unlocked. So that is what it means by a rewardable token. Node performance. We explained it a little bit earlier when we reviewed the browser site, but a node performance basically means it is calculated by the number of blocks a producer produced in a given month divided by the number of blocks produced by the best performing node in a given month. Let's say, and I think I gave the exact same example, let's say that the best performing node produced 1,000 blocks and your node produced 990 blocks. Well, that will give you a score of 99 or 0.99. And the best producer who produced 1,000 blocks, we've got a score of 1. So that's what it means by node performance. What does it mean by reward period? Currently, it's set in 3-month intervals. And in that 3-month period, a set number of tokens will be distributed to all the stakers. And this value will be described a little bit more in detail by Kurt in his AMA on, I believe, next week. He'll review a little bit more in detail about how many tokens will be distributed per quarter, but just realize that it is a set amount of tokens that will be distributed to all the stakers for that 3 months. So let's take all of those information, let's plug that back into the equation, right? Okay, so the MPC rewards then are calculated by the total number of rewardable tokens that you have delegated to the various nodes that you selected, adjusted by those node performances of those nodes that you delegated to, right? Then you take that number and then you divide that by the total number of rewardable tokens that have been delegated to all of the nodes, right? So it's basically the number of tokens or rewardable tokens divided by the total number of rewardable tokens. And then you multiply that by the amount of reward tokens that will be distributed for that particular reward payment. So as I said, initially it sounds very complex, but once you go through it a few times, I think you'll be able to understand how that calculation really works. And here's a diagram below that kind of talks about how that really works in three different scenarios for two different token holders further. So you can that I wanted to review with you is the what I call interesting or important information for you to consider as you become a staker in the Partisia blockchain network. So I'll review these one item at a time. So the first item is staking MPC tokens implies that you trust the node operator to operate their node in a non-malicious manner. And you could take a look at the white paper link below to read a little bit more about what that means. But when you stake to a node, you're basically saying, hey, I trust this node operator to not operate this node in any kind of a malicious manner that would compromise the Partisia blockchain network. The second note is that you can unstake at any time, except when your token is being used as collateral for a job. If you remember, your MPC token is being used as collateral for either bridging functions or for ensuring that the ZK functionalities or the multi-party computation functionalities are being done smoothly. And so when your tokens are being used for a particular job, when it's running a computation or it's running a bridge function, you will not be able to unstake your tokens. But once that job is complete, you'll be able to unstake it at any time. The trust score, which we reviewed at the browser section for a node, is currently calculated by how many blocks a node produces in a given month, right? Right, that is how the trust score is calculated now. In the future, we will implement a more complex trust score. The other item that we talked a little bit earlier before as well is, we really recommend that you search out for responsive node operators in our Telegram and Discord server. Node operators are individual entities. They're not part of the Partisia Blockchain Foundation. They're not affiliated with us. They are individual entities. We do KYC with them because it is important to know who they are. But perhaps a node operator is unresponsive because they're very busy or they're out on a holiday or they're not reviewing their node very often, right? And as we mentioned earlier, when you stake, the node operator actually has to accept that stake, which means you want to really reach out to the communities and find node operators that are actively accepting tokens for you to stake to. A small amount of ETH or USDC Polygon needs to be bridged. If you remember, our chain, in our chain, you do not pay for transactions fee using the MPC token. You pay it using our bring your own coin token model. Currently, right now, we support Ethereum or USDC Polygon. So you'll need to bridge just a little bit to be able to stake. The fee for staking and unstaking will be around 16K bytes, which equals to around 16 cents US dollar. This is the gas that you will need to pay, again, and convert it from Ethereum or USDC Polygon when you do the bridge. And it is important not to modify this amount in the wallet when you're staking or unstaking. When you modify the amount and there isn't enough gas to complete the transactions, it is possible that your tokens may get stuck in the transfer and we'll have to go through a manual call and a support ticket in order for us to unstuck your tokens. Your workstation also must have its system time synchronized automatically. There are options in your computer to synchronize your system's clock to NTP, and it is recommended that you synchronize your systems to automatically to a NTP server. And the last item is that a soft cap of 5 million token is placed on any single node for rewards. This basically means that the amount of tokens that are distributed to a node will continue to scale up as that particular node continues to receive stakes until 5 million. At 5 million, the amount of reward will be capped, and any other coins or tokens that are staked to that node will share in that capped reward that's going to go um, to that node, right? Now, it might initially seem that a node operator then may not want to accept any more than 5 million tokens. But there are many cases where a node operator will want to stake more than 5 million, even though the reward may be smaller, because it will mean that they'll be able to accept more jobs to earn larger bring your own coin rewards. Now, that's going to be in a future case, but for now, the soft cap is set at 5 million. So most likely, once a node has capped out at 5 million, they will no longer accept any new tokens. And the last item that I wanted to review with you is about the soft cap. There is a soft cap of 5 million token that is placed on a single node, which basically means is that as the node continues to receive stakes, the reward amount that that particular node will receive will continue to increase. The more amount that you get staked to, the more rewards will increase because we will continue to reward those stakers that have staked to that node, all the way up until 5 million token is staked. Once that 5 million token is staked to that node, there's going to now be a cap where the amount of rewards that is being distributed to that node will also halt. So if you have tokens that are staked further than 5 million, the rewards will not increase, and you will now need to share that capped reward across 5 million plus token holders. And so these are the key items that I wanted to review with you. There are nuances different than other blockchains where I think it will be important for you to understand prior to you decide to stake using your coins into different nodes. I hope this session was helpful. If there are any questions that you have, please reach out to either the mavens or administrators in our Telegram or in Discord. If you have a particular issue, I recommend raising a support ticket so that you can get an official support representative to help resolve your issue in Discord. And I want to thank you guys for watching this video. I hope it was helpful, and I hope that the new site is a little bit more intuitive and it's easier for you to stake your tokens into our network. If you have any suggestions for further changes, please reach out to us in Discord as well. And I'm looking forward to announcing the next version of our staking tool in the near future. Thank you.